on that. So Swarup Lakshana is Anukulyena, that is favorable, that is pleasing to Krishna. Performed with the intention to please Krishna. It has to be. Kamsa shouting on Krishna, 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 Krishna everywhere. Or Shishupal also so much. He is knowing so many adjectives for Krishna. And so Krishna dances. But is it pleasing to Krishna? No. So then ultimately he chopped off his head only. So it has to be performed with the intention to please Krishna also. Internally there should be intention. I want to please Krishna. So then Anukulyena also means Krishna should get pleasure from it. So how to know whether Krishna is pleased with my service or not? If Guru is pleased. How to know my Guru is pleased or not? If my superiors are pleased. Krishna is represented by Guru, Guru is represented by devotees, seniors, like that. So if they are pleased, superiors are pleased, Guru is pleased. Guru is pleased, Krishna is pleased. So Krishna should get pleasure from it. Devotee's attitude towards Krishna should be favorable. So Krishna is the next. Anukulyena Krishna. So Krishna means Krishna and various expansions. Krishna's paraphernalia. Krishna's pure devotees. So all that, it should be all included in that. And then last word is Anushilanam. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. So Anushilanam means constant or activity following predecessor acharyas. That's why reading Prabhupada books is very important to know whether I am in line with Prabhupada or not. Otherwise, Manorathena sati dhavato bahi. I'm just sitting on the chariot of mind, going with high speed. I'm going higher than this devotee. So that is useless. So one should follow previous acharyas. So then Anya Abhilata, that is, these are Tatastha Lakshana now. They are described in first two lines. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Anya means other, Abhilasha means desires. Ita means motive. Shunya means zero. No other desire or motive, they are all zero. Divide of all material desires. Then next component of Tatastha Lakshana is Jnana Karmadi Anavratam. Jnana means impersonal philosophy. Karma means fruitive activity. Adi means etc. So in that he says, what all comes in Adi? That we did not discuss yesterday. That's why these notes are also important. I did not mention. Adi means artificial detachment. Sometimes our brahmacharis tend to become very renounced. So that is not required. Especially like let's say Chaturmasya period. Now I will grow my beard and my hair. That is not required. That traditionally maybe there. We are preachers. So we remain clean, shaved and all that. So if it is instructed by our superiors, then fine. Otherwise not required. His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj, decades back, when he was somewhat new to Radha Gopinath temple, new means he was just recently appointed. He was visiting sannyasi on behalf of His Holiness Kirtanand Swami Maharaj. But then eventually he was made in charge there and he became the guru also, sannyasi, like that. So then when he saw the brahmacharis are doing Chaturmas period by eating only khichdi, that too without salt, and that also something like 1 spoon will be served in that pattal and they will eat that much only. Whatever comes in 1 spoon, that much only they will eat. So when Maharaj heard and saw that, he said, he told the leaders, tell all the brahmacharis, nobody is going to practice this Chaturmas by eating only 1 spoonful of khichdi. Why? Because externally one is eating only this much, but internally one is overeating false pride. And I am such a renounced brahmachari. And all others are so much overeaters. So you understand? So this artificial detachment is not required. If Guru tells, just like I think yesterday somebody said, if Guru says you be in a bungalow, not under a tree. So being in bungalow is pure devotional service, staying in bungalow. And Guru says, hey, don't stay in bungalow, stay below a tree. So staying below tree is pure devotional service. So artificial detachment comes in that Jnana Karma Adi word. Artificial detachment is one. Second is mystic yoga. So we should not be after mystic yoga also. In one sense, even expertise that we develop by our devotional. All of us, by performing devotional service, we will get some charisma, some expertise. Like, people will know, oh, Kurmavatar Prabhu means, scholarly doctor. yet to happen, not yet. Degree is not there. Sumit Prabhu, my God, when he plays Mridanga, it's like gopis are dancing on the two sides of the drum. So like that. So this is our mystic yoga. We cannot have Anima, Lagima, Mahima. That is for those Ashtanga yogis. But we also have some mysticism in us. By Krishna's grace, when we perform devotional service. So we should not be attached to it. Should use it in Krishna's service. I just am instrumental. Mridanga is instrument. I am also instrumental. Not that I play Mridanga. No. I am instrumental in the service of Hari Guru Vaishnava. So mystic yoga is another thing. So never become carried away by the charisma or expertise that you have. All of us have. Like I also get praised by so many devotees. Bro, what a point you told, this, that. Day for yesterday I was in Hyderabad temple, so they told me to give japa talk, Rajeshwar sitting. So I spoke and he was ecstatic. Wow, what a japa talk. Because I quoted from Chaitanya Bhagavat, many devotees have not read that part. So, because what happens, many things devotees don't read. So, if you somehow happen to read that and you quote somewhere, they see like, oh my God. But once they know, next time somebody else goes, I know that. So, you have to know something which nobody knows. You have to read that Sundar Sham Das Samhita, which nobody else has read. Then when you quote, and then don't tell others, where is it from? कहाँ से बताइए आपने? वो सुंदर श्याम दास संहिता से. It's none of your business. So when devotees glorify us like that, we may get carried away by the illusory potency of the Lord, not internal potency. So be careful. And third is astrology. That Adi also means astrology. So don't get carried away by astrology also. Sometimes grihasthas may become too much carried away. Let me see when my daughter's marriage and this. So don't get carried away by that too. Sometimes we get carried away. Sometimes some devotees have a lot of difficulty. In my life also some point of time, somehow some astrological charts were seen. Some sites were nice, but because of some health issues. So then, but then we have to know. And I saw how those astrological charts don't work for a devotee. It's most dynamic thing, devotee life. Because he's continuously surrendering to Krishna. Arushilanam is cultivating. So it's like for me, I'll tell you one of the points told in astrological chart by very famous personalities, that at my age of 50 around, my mother and father will depart from life, from world. So that was to happen later. But at the age of 44 only, my parents departed. One thing was true, that they will depart. That means they will depart in 1 year only. So that happened. But that did not happen when I was 50. I am just 46 now, 4 more years. So 2 years back only they left body. So it doesn't work. And some other things are also there. I could understand. It doesn't work. Astrology doesn't work on daily because our life is very dynamic. Krishna is seeing how we are practicing, how much we are surrendering, and then accordingly he will arrange life. He can arrange parents to go away before only, or he can arrange the parents to stay longer also. That astrological chart will not work. For ordinary person it will work because that fellow is not in the surrendering process. But we are all in the sun. So eventually I saw that because of that seeing astrological charts, I was quoting astrology and I was even recommending others. But it's dangerous. It's not pure devotional service. So now I don't worry about that, what astrological charts were seen for me, nor do I worry about others also. So astrology also should not be into. Then anavritam, jnana karma adi, anavritam. Anavritam is not covered. Prabhupada says, anavritam, that is uncovered by mental speculation of fruitive activities, karma kanda. Karma kanda also should not be there. Sometimes like grihasthas, somebody is dead in the family, so they have to do that pindadan and terava. So we do it, just because society people should not blame, oh, ISKCON fellows, they don't follow scripture. They claim to be Vedic followers and they are not even doing terava and this and that and all that. So we do that. And wherever possible, we can do kirtan. That pujari, that purohit can come and he can do that. So, but somebody can be sitting behind and doing kirtan there. And we can participate in that also. So don't allow karma kanda also to overpower. Otherwise it is not pure devotional. Jnana karmadi anavritam, not covered. If you mix up karma with bhakti, if you mix up jnana with bhakti, or if you mix up yoga, it is contaminated. It is not pure. So purify everything, all. That karma also should be Krishna only. Bhakti only we should do. Whatever you do should be pure devotional service. Even drinking water, passing stool, everything part of pure devotional service. No karma, no jnana, no yoga, nothing. Then let there be no mixture, because as soon as you mix, it becomes a problem. You must have heard the word like bhakti yukta gyan and jnana yukta bhakti. What is the difference? Bhakti yukta gyan. What was the last word? Gyan. That is the prominent one. But in that there is mixture of bhakti and jnana yukta bhakti. So bhakti is prominent, but in that gyan is mixture. Some mixture of gyan is also there. So we don't practice any of this bhakti yukta gyan or jnana yukta bhakti. We practice pure devotional service. There is no tinge of karma, gyan, yoga in that. Otherwise, if you had any tinge, then it is contaminated. Then it is not pure. Then Prabhupada in Calcutta, September 26, 1974 said, pure devotional service is given by Rupa Goswami, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, no desire for fruitive activities or philosophical speculation or yogic magic. No. So when some of you are doing job, so you may say, no, for my life, I will be a grihastha for my life. No, don't think like that. My Krishna samsara kari, chadiya nachar. I do Krishna's samsara. I don't have my samsara at all. Krishna's samsara. Krishna's family. Okay, I am something like a president of that grihastha life, means husband. So I have to go out and get some fun. That is job or business. You understand, no? That should be very clear. Grihasthas, many grihasthas in ISKCON think, yeah, that morning program and all that is okay for brahmachari. But I am a grihastha. No, I have my material life. No, you cannot have material life. Then it is not pure devotional service. Make everything spiritual. Whatever you do, you marry for Krishna, you produce children for Krishna, you work for Krishna, means you do job for Krishna, you get money for Krishna, you spend money for Krishna, everything for Krishna only. No desire for creative activities or philosophical speculation or yogic magic. No, simply how to satisfy Krishna. That is bhakti. Anukulyena means what is favorable. What Krishna desires. That is first class bhakti. That's why Grihastha should approach their Guru and ask, Guru Maharaj, how would you like us to lead our lives? Means either day or life, something like that. So then Guru will say, morning program you must have. So you can present your problem that my job begins at 7 o'clock, let's say. So then he may say, okay, then at least something like this. Something he will adjust also. So, but everything that you do in your life has to be as per Guru's guidance. Then it will become pure devotional service. So Tatastha Lakshman Prabhupada says, in the verse, the phrase Anya Abhilashita Shunyam has not been used. Sorry, Anya Abhilasha Shunyam has not been used. Instead, the phrase Anya Abhilashita Shunyam has been chosen. This means divide of other desires which are as deep-rooted as one's nature. Our nature, how it is? Deep-rooted. So these other desires which are coming sometimes to surface, they are not as deep-rooted as one's nature. I gave example yesterday in Life at Stage. I told that my Warangal Vice experience that I ate in the night 10:30. And then also Draupadi Mata asking Krishna, please help me. So that is not nature, you understand? I said that so many months that Prasad was lying, I never ate it. But one time it so happened because of my mistake. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary writes, in death-threatening situations, a devotee may say, oh Lord, please save me. You are devotee now from this danger. I am your devotee, please save me from this danger. Life-threatening situation. Because it is a sudden, temporary desire, it is not harmful to his bhakti. That is because this desire arises beyond his control, opposite of his devotional nature. That desire is not his nature. That itaha is being explained. Jiva Goswami in his commentary says, therefore, superficial, fleeting desires or desires for self-preservation do not exclude one from pure devotional service. And thus, pure devotional service can be executed in the stage of sadhana bhakti. I told, no? You can be impure sadhaka as a part of sadhana bhakti, but you can perform pure devotional service. Here is Jiva Goswami's commentary. You heard, no? Yeah. Therefore, superficial, fleeting desires or desires for self-preservation do not exclude one from pure devotional service, and thus pure devotional service can be executed in the stage of sadhana bhakti. I give the example of cycle man catching lorry. Who is lorry? Guru. And who is cycle man? You yourself. So Tatastha Lakshan, Karmadi Anavratam. Prabhupada says, one devotee in Bombay asked Prabhupada, this is where from? So one devotee in Bombay asked Prabhupada, should a devotee save a drowning man? And this is very practical, huh? How many of you know swimming? So hardly anybody knows. But still, one devotee in Bombay asked Prabhupada, should a devotee save a drowning man if he can, or should he just say that it is materialistic activity and we are only interested in serving Krishna? So we should not interfere with his karma and we should let him die. You get the point? What will you do? You know swimming, you are expert swimming, and you can save some drowning man also. And you see somebody is drowning. What will you do? How many of you will jump and take him out? Because you can do that. You have the power. How many of you will not do? You say that is his karma. Somehow I am here, and my guru sent me for book distribution. So I came here to see this. Because that was his karma, he was supposed to drown only. Forget it. Why should I reduce my book distribution score? It is pure devotional service. So you will not, you will not save him. How many of you will not save him? Let him drown. Because that is karma. Okay, only one. Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada replied that in principle he should not save him. In principle, he should not save him. Don't have strange look at Prabhupada. What, Prabhupada? Want him to die? Prabhupada saying, in principle, he should not save him because actually we have no business interfering with people's actions and reactions. So many people are drowning all over the world. So we don't go on that drowning rescue team, something like that. Then Prabhupada said that there is another consideration called Loka Vichar or public sentiment. Public, what is public thing? You just imagine now somebody doesn't know swimming, he's there and he asks a devotee, अरे भाई साहब उसको बचाइए बचाइए, तो आप कुछ कर नहीं देना. आपको तैरना आता है क्या भाई साहब? हाँ मुझे आता है. आप बचा सकते हो उसको? हाँ बचा सकता हूँ मैं. फिर बचाइए ना बचाइए. अरे मेरा बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन का टाइम जाएगा, स्टोर में तुम ले लो ये बुक. If he is going to purchase my book, then I will save him. So then what will people think? What cruel fellows are these? So public sentiment. So Giriraj Maharaj said, a devotee may do something which is not strictly included in the category of devotional service, like saving this drowning man, out of consideration for public sentiment, so that the people don't become hostile to the devotees and thus make it harder for the devotees to preach. Just imagine this incident happens and then you go for book distribution. What will that man will go behind? अरे इसके किताबें मत लो. हाँ, he knows swimming. He could have saved that man, but इनके आंखों के सामने उसने उसको मार डाला, है ना? डूबते हुए नहीं बचा. He's a murderer. He's not a book distributor. He is murderer. So they will create problem for your preaching. But if we think that if I don't do some material pious activities, then I cannot achieve bhakti, or some bad will come to me, that is against the principles of pure devotional service. If you think, if I don't save this man, then I am not, I cannot perform pure devotional service. So that is not proper. Pure devotional service means we have faith. For that matter, so many cows are being slaughtered. So many things are happening. Forests are being cut down. Deforestation is happening. So we are not going out on that mission. Some of the devotees get deviated and they start doing so many social welfare activities. No, that is none of our businesses. You understand? But in front of our eyes, something like that happens. We will do that with the one consideration of Loka Vichar. But exclusively we don't go out. So much of social welfare work can be done by all the devotees. But we don't get into all that. If our guru tells, go for certain thing, then we will go. Just like His Holiness Loknath Swami Maharaj was told that have Padayatra. So now he is going village to village and then distributing books, Harinam Sankirtan and all that. So that is pure devotional service. But otherwise, just like that, we don't roam around in the city to feed the poor and give water to the thirsty and all that. That is not pure devotional service. But if Guru tells, we definitely. You are getting the fine line, this side, that side. How many of you are clear? How many are not clear? Okay, so we move ahead. All these things are very important to understand. Then only we can practice pure devotional service. Otherwise, we may think that I am practicing pure devotional. You may not be. Your actions, your thoughts, your speech, and your actions all are part of pure devotional service. So thoughts also should be aligned as per Anu, predecessor acharyas. You have a question?
Like once His Holiness, I heard a pastime of His Holiness Arnab Swami Maharaj there. He was asked the question that he was asked the question that if anyone, if I see a beggar, he is in like bad condition, miserable condition, and he is asking for money, then should I give him or not? Then Maharaj said that it is better to give him because else it will make your heart hard.
Yeah, he is repeating the words of His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He has given a note. He has given a talk that is there in the form of a note. So he's just repeating that only. So it is true that he is asking, what is he asking for? He is asking for Krishna. So Maharaj has said you have to give him prasad like that. But if you don't have prasad, you must give him money. Otherwise, that will make you hard-hearted. Bhakti Thakur has written that note also. He is asking, then it is your duty. But just like that, we don't go out and start giving prasad to beggars and all that. That's not what we do. The difference you understand, When you just go on, my only goal is to whole day I will be distributing prasad to beggar, then that is not pure devotional service. But when you are out and some beggar approaches you, you must give him. If you don't have prasad, you have to give him money. Now, one problem is in this is he can misuse your money. He can drink wine, cigarette, something. Then you may have to pay. But you have to give money. Otherwise, you will become hard-hearted. So this side you will become hard-hearted, and then other side you can become sinful. So that's why best is to give prasad. See, all the beggars who get money from you, donors, are they going to build house with that money? No question. They are going to remain in hut only, whatever that house, broken house. Are they going to purchase clothes with that money? No. So only reason for that money is, for what reason? Food. So better you only give prasad. The best of prasad you can give to beggars. But if you don't have prasad, you have to give money. Because otherwise you will become hard-hearted.
Here you mentioned that if somebody is just going outside distributing prasadam, that is not pure devotional service.
He is saying he is doing social welfare work with that intention. I will just distribute food to everyone and like that. Now some devotees in our temple have food for life department. So they can go out whole day and distribute prasad. Not food, prasad. So that is okay because Guru's order is there. You understand?
Under authorities, if they say distribute food, prasad, prasad.
Yeah, food for life department is meant for that only, na. One thing is they will distribute prasad within temple, but another thing is they will distribute out on the street, railway station, so many places. That is Guru's order, so that is pure devotional service.
If we give to one, then so many can come beggars. So how?
You have to give them all. Huh?
If we don't have that much.
Then you have to purchase. Money at least you have, na? Purchase. It's on the street only, na? Beggars are on the street only. There's so much market is there. Purchase apples, bananas, whatever you have. Give them. In the mind only you offer to Krishna, give them. It is your duty. Grihastha's duty is to feed everyone, not only human being, not only brahmanas, poor, beggars, but even cats, dogs, cockroaches. Prabhupada's father would keep some kind of rice or something in the middle of the shop. One reason is the rats, otherwise, what do you call it? They eat up the cloth, and the cloth is not sellable then. But another reason is also Grihastha duty to maintain the rats and dogs and hogs and all living beings, everyone. Even sages in the forest, backside of their hermitage, they would put milk in the pot something, so that the lions and all they can drink like that. Tigers would come and they would drink the milk and go away. So it is duty of the grahasthas to maintain everyone.
You mentioned that one should go to spiritual master and ask how my day should be and stuff. But many times it happens that Guru knows that if I don't allow this fellow for these things, then he may leave Krishna consciousness. Because he is not on that level to practice what I desire right now. So he may set some lower standards. Maybe sometimes even half-heartedly he may set some lower standards for his.
So gurus are very intelligent. They will not allow that third offense to happen by disciple, disobeying the instruction of the spiritual master. First, the guru will ask, so tell me, how do you spend your day today, nowadays, for last so many years? So he'll say, Guru Maharaj, I get up at 6 o'clock, I chant, something. Then Guru Maharaj will tell, okay, and now you start getting up 5:30, something like that. So they will see his level, he will see his level, and accordingly he will instruct. Not that he will directly instruct him on Guru's level, Guru will not instruct him. He will instruct him on the disciple's level to bring him to higher level. That Guru knows how to do that.
Sometimes we also become adamant that we again and again request or something like that, and then Guru allows. So is that pure devotional service or not?
That will not be pure devotional service. Guru is just protecting one from that. Just like that one couple wanted divorce, and or one man he came. Prabhupada said, okay. And then after he went away, disciples said, how did Prabhupada you allow this? Prabhupada said, because if I would not have allowed him, anyway he would have gone for divorce, and then it would have been third offense. So that's why reluctantly I gave him permission. So that is not done pure devotion. Similarly, one brahmachari or somebody, he found that some disease in the body, and he is going to remain alive for 6 months only. That's what doctor said. So then he wanted Babaji initiation, proper disciple. So then he told the leaders, GBC, I tell Prabhupada I want Babaji initiation because I have only 6 months left. So I must chant many rounds, etc. So when Prabhupada was informed, the Prabhupada said, no question, what Babaji and all? We don't give Babaji initiation in ISKCON like that. But then he was pressurizing too much through GPCs, etc. That only 6 months something. Then Prabhupada very reluctantly gave him Babaji initiation and Babaji trace, etc. But after 6 months, that fellow did not die only. I think astrology doesn't work, and the doctors also, their predictions also don't work. One should just wholeheartedly surrender to Guru. So that Babaji initiation given by Prabhupada is not part of, means that fellow doesn't practice in pure devotional service. That's why Krishna burst open that thing by not killing him after 6 months. He did not die.
Only like it's a 7th offense. So like by chanting holy names, so automatically simple reactions are going to get irrigated.
Without offenses when you chant.
Without offense. But if somebody chants with the intention that I am chanting and then I can do sinful, so that we say it is a greatest offense.
7th offense, not greatest offense, 7th offense.
So if you take the same analogy here in this, like Prabhuji was asking, that spiritual master reluctantly allowing disciple, like in Prabhupada case and some other cases, that you don't want that he should commit offense, that disobeying the spiritual master. So, but there also intention is not Prabhuji, like he is not willingly is allowing spiritual master. So anyway, that fellow is not following spiritual master.
That will come third offense, disobeying the instruction of the spiritual master. That is not part of 7th offense.
No, there is not. I am telling the same analogy here, because the intention matters. No, like spiritual master is not willingly allowing him to do that.
So that's what is kind of disobeying. It doesn't become exactly disobedience. It like becomes in between because spiritual master is broad-hearted. What is your problem?
No, I'm just asking, like it's still like there is some like that person who is not Guru allowed unwillingly, and that fellow also did what he wants to do. So, but the Guru saved him from disobeying spiritual master. But still he will get some reaction, I think.
No, that whatever Guru says, that's what Krishna will accept it. So they need not be given sinful reaction. That we don't have to worry so much. Let the Gurus do. We are not Gurus. You go ahead. I am Guru for this completion of this course. That let me complete my instruction by my superiors. So we'll go ahead now. Too many questions. स्वरूप लक्षण is anukullena Krishnanushilanam, tatastha lakshan is anyavishishanam jnanakarmacharartham. Okay, that is over. Prabhupada said in the introduction, actually Krishna consciousness can be based simply on hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. Described in the Srimad Bhagavatam are 9 different processes, besides which everything done is unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. Thus, one should always be guarding against fall downs. So, concluding quote of that introduction is, to achieve success in self-realization or God realization, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends sthane sthitaha. You just remain in your present position. You remain as a grahastha, or as a brahmachari, or as a sannyasi, or as a businessman, professional man. It does not matter. But Shruti Gatam Tanuvan Manobhi. Just try to hear about Krishna. Shruti Gatam, oral reception. Shruti Gatam means oral reception. Tanuvan Manobhi. And try to employ your body, words, Tanuvan and Manaha, mind, engaged in Krishna's service. So this Krishna consciousness movement is to give chance to everyone to hear about Krishna. This is the first process, Shravana. And when one has heard very nicely about Krishna, then he can speak about Krishna. And he must speak. You cannot remain without speaking. That is the result of Shravana. Shravana means Shravana Kirtanam. One who has heard nicely, he must speak or preach. This is Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita class in Bombay. Then in preface he says, it is only for our guidance that Srila Rupa Goswami prepared his book Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is now presented in the form of nectar audition. Those who want to be solidly situated should read. Okay, that covers the introduction thing. These notes are based on Prabhupada's lectures and all. So that's why we wish to cover them also. So that Bhagavad Swami's translation of Jiva Goswami's commentary on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 112 is, in this verse that Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam, Tatparatvena, with devotion to him, Tatparatvena, taking him as the highest object, is the equivalent of Anukullena. Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam, that is devoid of all conditions, is equivalent to Anya Vilashita Shunya. Sevanam is the equivalent of Anushilanam. The two verses, their comparison is being done. How both are saying same thing. Words are little different. Nirmalam, without blemish, is the equivalent of Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. The superior nature of this bhakti, Uttamam, what is it? Sarvapati Vinirmuktam, Tat Paratvena, Nirmalam, Rishikena Rishinam, Sevanam Bhaktir Uchchate. Or there Anyamalishasanam Jnana Karma Bhaktir Uttama. So Uttama is understood by its very nature and thus is not stated in words. Basically both verses are talking the same thing. That's what Bhanu Maharaj has commented. So Krishna is the proprietor of the senses and we should not use anything of the master without the permission of the master. And therefore the devotee takes permission from the Lord before engaging any of his senses. So before engaging any of your senses, take permission. Oh Lord, I am going to engage my senses in this activity. So then you cannot be having dangerous activities, sinful activities or offensive activities also. Because Krishna's senses, you have to use in his service only. And the permission may come through the devotees or through the scripture or through the spiritual master, that is Anupata. Kiraj Maharaj writes, but Srila Prabhupada said that a pure devotee does not engage any of his senses without first taking permission from the Lord. And once Srila Prabhupada told one disciple, you don't move this pen from this place on the table to this place on the table without my permission. So this is bhakti. You understand, on the table only the pen, the devotee might have moved once. Prabhupada must be keeping the pen in the pen box only, and that devotee might have kept it. He might have used for some reason maybe, and he kept it on the table. So Prabhupada is saying, you don't move this pen from this place on the table to this place on the table without my permission. So this is bhakti. So this is also bhakti. What is the problem? Why you get so much pain in your heart? Move the pain on the table only. It is on the table basically. No, that is not. Anupart is not there. It's not pleasing. So now we come to the first chapter, which is here, characteristics of pure devotional service. Sorry, I spent a lot of time on this, but that is important also to go through that text. So that is 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. So there is a verse for that. You can repeat after me. Kleshagni Shubhada Moksha Laghuta Krit Sudurlabha Sandrananda Visheshatma Sri Krishna Karshani Cha Sa means she. So is she pure devotional service. And she has 6 characteristics as pure devotional service. So we'll go parallel with this also. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, we are seeing in, you can, if you wish, sometimes you can refer to your book also. 3rd canto, 29th chapter, verse 12-13. Srila Kapil Dev, while instructing his mother, has given the following characteristics of pure devotional service. My dear mother, those who are my pure devotees and who have no desire for material benefit or philosophical speculation have their minds so much engaged in my service that they are never interested in asking me for anything except to be engaged in that service. They do not even beg to live in my abode with me. So pure devotees, selfless. Ahetuki avyavahata ya bhakti purushottame. Some that in 1-2-6 also similar thing there. Ahetuki apratihata yayatmasu prasiddhati. So that's what is Lord Kapila saying. Ahetuki avyavahita apratihata, same thing. Ya bhakti purushottame. So that devotional service is like that. Then next he says, how the devotees are not interested in any of the liberations given by Ekatvam, that is merging in the impersonal Brahman, that devotee no question. Kaivalyam narakayate, it is hellish only. But other 4 are proper only. So why not them? But if there is no service there in those through those 4 muktis, then devotee doesn't want any of these 4 muktis also. Does not even want any of the 5 kinds of liberation. That is next paragraph. Salokya, Samipya, Sarupya and Sashti. He doesn't want. Saishya to hellish only, but other 4 also he doesn't want. So there he said there are 6 characteristics of pure devotional service which are there enlisted there. Kleshagni, Shubhata, Sandrananda Visheshatma, Sudurlabha, Moksha Laghutakrit and Sri Krishna Karshani. The English words are given. Pure devotional service brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. What is that called? Kleshagni. Pure devotional service is the beginning of all auspiciousness. That is Shubhata. Pure devotional service automatically puts one in transcendental pleasure. Moksha Laghutakrit. In transcendental pleasure is Sandrananda Visheshatma. We will explain all these things. Sandrananda means it's very condensed bliss. Just like we have water in the glass. So if I put my finger like this, it can go through entire to the bottom of that glass. So many molecules of water are there, but they are loosely packed. So my finger can penetrate. But now let's say here. Here also molecules of iron are packed there. So if I try to put my finger there, what will happen? That mic will be pushed forward, but my finger cannot penetrate because these molecules are closely packed, tightly packed. So it's not possible. So like that condensed bliss devotee experiences. That is one characteristics of pure devotional service. Puts one in transcendental pleasure. 4th is pure devotional service is rarely achieved, that is Sudurlabha. Those in pure devotional service derive even the conception of liberation. What is that? Moksha Laghutakrit. Moksha Laghutakrit. उसको लघु बना देता है वो. छोटा बना देता है मोक्ष को, इनसिग्निफिकेंट. And last sixth is pure devotional service is the only means to attract Krishna, which is Sri Krishna Karshani. Krishna is all attractive, but pure devotional service attracts even him. Krishna is Madan Mohan, attractor of, enchanter of Cupid, who is enchanter of the whole world. And Radha Rani is pure devotional service. She is called as Madan Mohan Mohini, the enchantress of the enchanter of the enchanter of the whole world. Madan Mohan Mohini. Okay, so now how are these divided? The six characteristics of pure devotional is what we just enlisted now. So sadhan bhakti, when we practice, two are removed. The two are achieved. The kleshagni and shubhada. All the klesha will be removed from our life. And shubhada, auspiciousness will come. In bhava bhakti stage, these two are anyway there, because after sadhan bhakti one has gone, entered in bhava bhakti. So two more are added. They are moksha laghutakrit and sudurlabha. Because you'll find as sadhakas, sometimes we want to get rid of some services. ये सर्विस कब जाएगा, then I will do that service. तो ये लिबरेशन की ही कामना है. जैसे वो फ्रस्ट्रेट होता है वो मटेरियल लाइफ में, and then he wants to merge in impersonal Brahman, no service to Krishna, क्योंकि वो अंदर ही चला गया ना, शांति शांति. तो like that, I don't want to do this service for Krishna. I'll merge in another service. So that liberation has to be made insignificant. Moksha Laghutakrit and Sudurlabha. And in Prema Bhakti stage, two more are added. The first four are anyway there, but two more are Sandrananda Visheshatma and Sri Krishna Karshan. So now the first one, Klesha Agni. So Klesha Agni. Klesha is material suffering and Gni means destroys. It destroys material suffering. Pure devotional service brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. If we see in the beginning stage of our Krishna consciousness, we felt like, such a nice life. I feel like, this is perfect. Just let me go on with devotees, chanting, dancing, twisting. Kevala Ananda Kandha, Kevala Ananda Kandha, Kevala. We enjoyed like anything, and sometimes maybe we thought also, I have become pure devotee. Tears are coming. I'm not able to stop them. How many of you had some experience like that? Yeah. But after just बैठे थोड़ा रहो और देखो बाद में ऐसा ड्राई फेस, अरे ये क्या है, भक्ति में तो कुछ आनंद ही नहीं. What kind of devotees nonsense? So what is that in the beginning? Because we are inoffensive, so we perform pure devotional service. Krishna gives one drop, that is his advertising department, so that we So but we find all miseries are gone. अभी तो बस यही जीना है, और जीना तो क्या जीना, भक्ति के बिना या जो भी है, chanting के बिना. Even you will find hippies, he'll go in the park, girl is there, hippie girl, and she's having beads, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. They are also enjoying. They forgot all hippie culture and all that. So this is in the sadhana stage only you can experience this. But then afterwards what happens? We commit offenses. So offenses have to be gotten rid of. Then you will enter in next Raganuga stage. So he says kleshas, three kleshas are cause of suffering. Clear some Sanskrit, but here the font is not. Kleshas tu papam tad bijam avidya cheti te tridha. Three types. Klesha means te papam, the sin, tad bijam, uska jo beej hai, and avidya, ignorance. So we can see like all the suffering we have. So what is the root cause? What is the cause of that suffering? Sinful reactions. What is the cause of sinful reactions? Sinful actions. Sinful actions we have performed. That's why when it fructifies, it leads to sinful reaction, and the reaction is suffering for us. And what is the cause of sinful action? Ignorance. When we are in ignorance, then we perform the sinful activity. When we are in knowledge, we don't perform sinful activity. So you can put that bijam in between also, if you want, in 4 stages. So avidya, ignorance, that is the root cause, that leads to bijam. Then material desire comes, which will be sinful certainly. And then sinful action will happen, papa. And then eventually suffering will come in the form of sinful reaction. So if you want in 4 stages, then the bijam can also be added. So avidya leads to bijam, bijam leads to papam, papam leads to klesha, suffering. So avidya, ignorance. So about it, it is said. So here also we'll see. So now there Prabhupada begins with the first one. Relief from material distress, that is in sadhana bhakti. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but somewhere in between. So you have to jump. I cannot tell also exactly which line I am reading, but you only have to see where it is. Generally, one commits sinful activities due to ignorance, but ignorance is no excuse for evading the reaction, sinful activities. The sinful activities for which we are suffering at the present moment are called mature. The many sinful activities stored within us for which we have not yet suffered are considered immature. In what are the Sanskrit terms? Prarabdha and aprarabdha. So that which has fructified, we are suffering now. That is what is that? Prarabdha. And that is which is not yet given to us, that is aprarabdha. Like after 10-15 days, some devotee may have suffering, in the sense, nose running and all that. So that is currently aprarabdha. It will become prarabdha eventually. When you get it already manifested, it is prarabdha. When not yet, it is aprarabdha. He is suffering, next paragraph. He is suffering in the present life, the results of his sinful activities from his past life, and is meanwhile creating further sufferings for his future life. So it's very dangerous. Then next he talks about that aprarabdha. There are many results of past sinful activities for which we are suffering at the present moment. And that will, but all of these reactions to sinful deeds can immediately be stopped if we take to Krishna consciousness. Then he quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam. This verse is in connection with Lord Krishna's instructions to Uddhav, where he says, "My dear Uddhav, devotional service unto me is just like a blazing fire, which can burn into ashes unlimited fuel supplied to it." What is that fuel compared to? Sinful reactions. They're all burnt. He says in Brahma Samhita, Kintu cha bhakti bhajam. What does it mean? Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. Karma, sinful activities, they are compared to seeds. So now these seeds, when sowed in the ground, will fructify in the form of plant. But before sowing the seed, if you take that seed and put it on the frying pan, roast it. Now you put it in the soil, pour a lot of water. What will happen? Nothing will come. What happened? The germinating potency of the seed is destroyed by that frying process. So karmani nirdahati. Karma will be burned. Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhaja, by this bhakti process. So that is the potency of bhakti. He says Krishna engaged Arjun on the battlefield under his order, and so the fighting became devotional service. Therefore Arjun was not subjected to any sinful reaction. We know that example that if the soldier of the army, if he kills more people, he kills of the enemies, what happens? He is given medal, maybe Paramveer Chakra kind of. But then same after getting Paramveer Chakra, when he comes in the evening and he fights with the neighbor and just stabs him, then what happens? Then he's put in jail, maybe whole life sentence, prison. Why? Because that was done, killing enemies on behalf of government. So government is pleased, whereas stabbing some neighbor is not pleasing to government. It is personal life. He is for his sense gratification he killed someone, that is not bhakti. In a sense, that is not acceptable. The next purport, next paragraph he says, so though Krishna says bhakti is like a karmani nirvati, but we should avoid seventh offense. We should not commit sinful activities, thinking that my bhakti of tomorrow will burn all my sinful actions, reactions for my actions. So I had Lord Kapila says, or Devavati says to her son Kapila Dev,
My dear Hare, what happened?
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Devavati addresses her son Kapila and says, my dear Lord, there are 9 different kinds of devotional service, beginning from hearing and chanting. Anyone who hears about your pastimes, who chants about your glories and all that, even if he is born in a family of dog eaters, the lowest grade of mankind, becomes immediately qualified to perform sacrifices. That shloka. Aho pata shvapacho ato gariyan yajjibhagri vartate nama tubhyam tepus tapaste juhu shashrarya brahmanuchur nama gradanti yate. So Mother Devavati is saying, after hearing so much long, so chapter after chapter, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, this is chapter number 33rd. 30th, so many chapters you see, those 6 and plus 31, 32, 8 and 33rd chapter after those 5 verses are discussed. In the 6th verse, Devavati is summarizing the whole Kapila teaching, that anybody who at the tip of his tongue, he always has holy name. Such a person has performed all the pious activities, visiting holy places, taking dip in holy rivers, performing sacrifices, giving charity, everything is done. That's how he has reached this culmination of always chanting or having holy name at the tip of his tongue. So that's the beauty of those who are chanters of the holy name of the Lord. A devotee is nevertheless always alert not to commit any sinful activities. This is a specific qualification as a devotee. If you want, you can underline that. It is like, I hope you got it. After 60% of paragraph over, then. Then he talks about prarabdha. A person is born, next paragraph, in a Brahmin family or in a family of dog eaters due to his past activities. If a person is born in a family of dog eaters, it means that his past activities were all sinful. There is a verse, aprarabdham phalam papam kutam bijan phulam mukham kramanaiva praliyeta Vishnu bhakti ratatmavan. Vishnu bhakti ratatmavan, one who engages himself in Vishnu bhakti, kramenaiva praliyeta, kram se, step by step, kramenaiva praliyeta is destroyed. What? Aprarabdham, अभी जो आने वाला है, that is destroyed. Phalam, that which is fruitful, fruit already. But aprarabdham phalam papam, the sinful action also will not be there. Papam bijam, the sinful desire in the form of seed. Papam bijam kutam, that is proclivity. Phalon mukham, which is just, I think that is about to fructify. Everything is destroyed. Aprarabdham phalam papam kutam bijam phalon mukham. Kramaineva. But if you see in this, prarabdha is not talked. Why not? प्रारब्ध क्यों डिस्ट्रॉय कर दो ना, उसको भी बचा के रखा है. हाँ, तो क्या हुआ, तो उसको भी डिस्ट्रॉय कर सकता है, क्या प्रॉब्लम. भगवान के लिए क्या संभव नहीं है.
So that he became more serious.
What?
Prarabdha is like he is suffering currently.
प्रारब्ध, part of the प्रारब्ध is we have obtained this body. इसको ही भगवान डिस्ट्रॉय करेंगे तो हम भक्ति कैसे करेंगे. So that's why he does not. Some part of prarabdha will change, but the whole thing cannot be changed. तो फिर बॉडी चला जाएगा भक्त का. फिर भक्ति क्या करेगा? So Lord is also very intelligent. He knows how to do it. भक्ति से प्रारब्ध नष्ट होता है, लेकिन वही प्रारब्ध नष्ट होता है जो भक्ति के प्रतिकूल होता है। प्रतिकूल तो अभी बॉडी प्रतिकूल और अनुकूल, अनुकूल, तो इसलिए भगवान उसको नहीं डिस्ट्रॉय करेंगे, जो प्रतिकूल पार्ट है उसको निकाल देंगे। जैसे समझे कुछ क्रोनिक डिजीज वगैरह है भक्त के शरीर में, भगवान चाहे तो उसको निकाल सकते हैं, प्रारब्ध कर्म हटा दो उसको, शरीर नहीं हटाएंगे, प्रारब्ध कर्म हटा देंगे। या फिर और कुछ है, अगली लुक, कृष्णा कैन रिमूव दैट, you to become very bright faced, very all that, you know? So many things are there. Prabhupada is quoting Hare Krishna. So aprarabdha is speaking in the next one. It is in the Padma Puran, it is said that the 4 kinds of effects due to sinful activities, which are listed as the effect which is not yet fructified, that is aprarabdha. The effects which is lying as seed, that is bija. The effect which is already mature, that is prarabdha. And the effect which is almost mature, I think that is for long, that is not mentioned, but Kutam? Okay. It is also stated that all these 4 effects become immediately vanquished for those who surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, and become engaged in his service. Then he says the effects, those effects described as almost mature refer to the distress from which one is suffering at present, and effects lying as seed are in the core of the heart, where there is a certain stock of sinful desires which are like seeds. The Sanskrit word kutam means that they are almost ready to produce the seed or the effect of the seed. An immature effect refers to the case where the seedling has not begun. From this statement of Padma Puran, it is understood that material contamination is very subtle. Its beginning, its fruition and results, and how one suffers such results in the form of distress are part of a great chain. When one catches some disease, it is often very difficult to ascertain the cause of the disease, where it originated and how it is maturing. The suffering of a disease, however, does not appear all of a sudden. It actually takes time. And as the medical field, if you want, you can underline this. As in the medical field, for precaution's sake, the doctor injects a vaccination to prevent the growing of contamination. The practical injection to stop all the fructifications of the seeds of our sinful activities is simply engagement in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness is compared to vaccination. Then in the next paragraph is talking about Bijam, that is from 6 to 17, Bhagavatam. Ajamil's story. At the end of his wicked life, just by calling the name Narayan, he was saved despite so much sin. Shukdev points out that austerity, charity, and the performance of ritualistic ceremonies for contracting sinful activities are recommended processes, but that by performing them one cannot remove the sinful desire seed from the heart, as was the case with Ajamil in his youth. This sinful desire seed can be removed only by achieving Krishna consciousness, and this can be accomplished very easily by chanting the Maha Mantra or Hare Krishna Mantra as recommended by Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In other words, unless one adopts the path of devotional service, he cannot be 100% clean from the reactions of sinful activities. Then next he says, all those activities, ritualistic activities, giving money in charity, undergoing austerity, one can temporarily become free from the reactions of sinful activity, but at the next moment he must again become engaged in sinful activity. So sinful activities may go away, but desires remain inside. Just like the bamboo tree may burn when the forest fire starts, but roots remain within the ground. The fire does not go inside and burning. So next raining and all that happens, then again the bamboo tree sprouts. So that is how other processes cannot root out the problem, but bhakti can do that. Again he says, medical treatment may give you temporary relief from the distress of such venereal disease, but unless one is trained to understand that sex life is abominable, it is impossible to be saved from such repeated distress. You can underline this if you wish. Those who undergo STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, So they suffer like anything. I heard that sometimes their genital is given electric shock. Shock anywhere on body is so scary, and genital is a delicate part. How troublesome, painful it would be. So that person, when he gets that, I'll never do this. But then after that, he is gone home. After 2-3 days, again he goes. So if he understands properly, it's impossible to be saved unless one is trained to understand that sex life is abominable. And also higher test is required. Vishya vinivartante iraharasya dehinah rasavarjam rasopyasya param drushta yavate. Rasavarjam, he has given up these activities, but rasopyasya, he is looking for that test. But unless he gets param drushta, higher test, he cannot forget that lower test. Or elephants bathing that we discussed in NY also, isn't it? First discussion begins with that. So again, after coming out, after taking bath, then on the bank of the river, he rolls in the dust. Then he talks about avidya, next paragraph, in Bhagavatam 4:22-39. Sanat Kumar says, "My dear king, the false ego of a human being is so strong that it keeps him in material existence as if tied up by a strong rope. Only the devotees can cut off the knot of this strong rope very easily by engaging themselves in Krishna consciousness. Others who are not in Krishna consciousness but are trying to become great mystics or great ritual performers cannot advance like the devotees. Therefore, it is the duty of everyone to engage himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness in order to be freed from the tight knot of false ego and engagement in material activity." That's how we do all menial services. No point of time we should have any. It's like I am giving class now, a superior position. Now after the class, I can come and roll the mat. I can sweep this floor. I can mop this floor, and whatever.